Okay, hello everybody. I think we are live now. Sorry we're a little bit late there. I do not know how to use a computer, but we've got here now. So I'm here with Raul from Pillars of the Past, the excellent new, really, isn't it? Like new YouTube channel. What did you start last year? Was it?
I mean, last year, my first, the Instagram started first. I would say that was
Okay.
January of 2024 was my very first post. And then
Yeah.
YouTube is just about a year. I started posting in July. So
Yeah.
it's still in its infancy.
Brilliant. I'm just checking that we are actually live.
Okay.
Just get on there. I believe we are.
Sounds good.
Cool.
Welcome, everyone.
Yeah. So last year you started your Instagram Pillars of the Past, and you've been going around. You don't live in Peru. You live in America, right?
I live in America. Yeah.
Yeah, but you go there fairly often. I can tell to Peru.
Well, so my, the backstory here is my mother is from Peru, so I have family down there, and I grew up going down there every year and a half, and in Lima visiting my abuelita, my tios and tias, and so my dad was American, and he was very adventurous and would love to go to. So every year and a half or so, as I'm growing up, and there's pictures of me in Machu Picchu when I was an infant, and then just, I mean, all over. My dad would like to rent cars and go looking for ancient ruins, and so that kind of the bug got me early. And the channel started last year. It was over the Christmas holiday, and we'd done everything with the family, and I had been looking on Google Earth for what I thought were ancient sites, and there was nothing to do the day after Christmas. So we have a Jeep down there, and I was like, "There's nothing to do. Let me just put these coordinates into my GPS of this place and see if these are ancient ruins." So I drove for an hour and a half, 2 hours deep into the mountains, these rural, rugged roads. You're to the point where you're not on a road at all, and I found ancient ruins, and I documented it. And so I did it again the next day. And so I was 2 for 2. And then I came back to the States, and I mean, I was like, all right, I kind of got an eye for this stuff. And so I just started going hard at Google Earthing what I believe were the remnants of ancient architecture down in Peru. Things with no labels, no place markers, nothing that it would indicate, at least on any maps or Google Earth, that was an ancient site. And so I started posting about them on the Instagram channel. And, I got a lot of pushback from some people who were saying I have pareidolia and we're making things up and just kind of seeing what I wanted to see. But I put my money where my mouth is. And in May of last year, I spent my life savings on a 1-month 23-day expedition to verify all these places I had found. And the stats from that trip are, within 23 days, I drove up and down the coast over 3,000 kilometers. And I went to over 90 sites that I had identified. And every single site, single one was the remnants of ancient architecture.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, man. Amazing. One particular video of yours, I can't remember which site it was, but it's the one where you you really go through the wilderness through a whole, it's like a forest of like gnarled trees, and then you get there, and there's an entire city of pyramids.
Purulin. Yep.
There you go. There you go.
So
so good.
The thing I found was the majority of these sites. Now, there's a handful that I legitimately came across that didn't have any Ministry of Culture designation. It's not on. Peru has they have an amazing site, sigda, sigda.pe, where they have, I mean, if you look at their map there of ancient ruins, they're everywhere. I say that to say there were a handful on my expedition that I came across that weren't on that map, that didn't have any indication that archaeologists had ever been there before. So as far as I'm concerned, they were legitimate new discoveries that, the Ministry of Culture has a portal where you can submit things. So we'll see if anything comes from it. But the site like Purulin, for example, a lot of these places do have Ministry of Culture designations. So they have a sign somewhere at the site. And that's typically because I was actually speaking to Dr. Ed Barnhart about this back in the 1900s to 1950s, antiquarians and, archaeologists or treasure hunters at the time were, going up and down the coast to these looking for treasures. And so they'd find a place, they'd try to get some data on it based on the ceramics and whatever they could find, and then they just move on. And so these places have not had thorough excavations or thorough surveys conducted. The site Purulin that we're speaking about, I didn't find this out until after posting about it, but an archaeologist reached out to me through Instagram and said, I think this is the site you're talking about. So I did some research and I found that Walter Alva, he's one of Peru's leading archaeologists.
The tomb of Sipan.
Exactly. That guy. Yep. And especially in the Lambayeque area, his name is all over the place, and he's done incredible work. But in the 1970s, they did a brief survey of this location, and for the following decades, he always said he wanted to go back there, that it was deserving of more research.
Yeah,
he's never gone back. Nobody's ever gone back there. So
imagine what it's like for him, though. He's got these hundreds of sites to choose from. Where can he? Where would you choose?
Well, and that's exactly it. When that's a very good point, because
so many of them.
It's unreal. It's unreal.
Realized that.
Yeah, but the thing about that is, so many of these sites were overlooked. Because you do have to kind of be choosy on which sites you invest time funding in. But sites like Corral, for example. Corral was, it's what is being called at this moment, at least, the oldest stone building culture in the Americas.
Yeah.
That was overlooked. It was found in the 1970s, and it was overlooked because there were no treasures, there were no artifacts, and it wasn't until the 90s when
no pottery, right, as well. No
pottery, pre-ceramic.
So the archaeologists were always looking for pots so they could date things and put it into a sequence. And without pots, it's like a mystery.
Yep.
So,
without pots or metallurgy. And
metallurgy as well, of course.
And also, I mean, iconography too. There is some at the Corral and surrounding sites from the Norte Chico culture, but it's not like the Moche,
No, there's not. There's not much.
Exactly.
There's not much. Yeah. And it's been such a long time as well. You got to think maybe there was a bit more of iconography, but it's just been eroded away or lost. Maybe that's just me looking at it poetically, but because it's 5,000 years,
Absolutely.
4,000 or 5,000 years, it's an outrageous amount of time.
Although I will say that my most recent video on the YouTube channel is challenging. There's a contender now for the earliest civilization in the Americas, and that's go ahead.
No, you go ahead, because I was going to say, I know that Corral, the headlines, it was all sort of like oldest city in the Americas, but I know that actually it was Ed Barnhart that I heard him speaking, and he was mentioning a much earlier site, 1,000 years earlier.
Setchin, and so that's and I go into depth. That's why I love making this, because I've been to these places, so I have the footage, but it's usually after the fact where I'm finding all these nuggets of research.
It's always the way. I do the same thing. Right? Yeah, I do the same thing.
And I'm mind blown.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think that's part of the joy of it for me anyway. It's visiting an incredible site, having an idea of what it is before I go, and then I when I get there, I realize it's completely different, because the geography of the place is always, there'll be mountains, or there'll be a particular just way that the rivers run or something like this that completely changes your understanding of the site. Then you get home and it adds a whole other layer to it when you do a bit more reading about it as well.
You're absolutely right. And I mean, I can't tell you how many times that I was surprised at the terrain or something, or where a site was. I mean, I remember there's a video of me. It's one of my earlier videos where I'm scaling these mountains to get, damn near more than 45 degree angle. and I thought it was going to be easy to get to. I knew this like fortress looking thing was at the top of a mountain, but the thing was, I was driving into the valley, and all you see, and this was in the Watermay Valley, and so you're on this road going through the valley, and all you see are these sheer cliffs on both sides, and I'm like, how in the hell am I going to get up there? And so. And I parked the car. I'm like, let me send the drone out to at least see if there's something. And there was. And so, but little things like that. And then I learned why they were building up there, because that was a time of warfare.
Yeah, there you go. You get an understanding why they were up there, and you get an understanding of why it's so remote as well, and it's not been investigated by archaeology so much, because it's just. They'd have to climb the cliffs, or they'd have to just get up the really awkward way every single day, or they'd have to camp up there.
Exactly.
Speaking to many archaeologists, many tend to go for the easier sites that are easier to access.
Absolutely, and the ones
requires a lot more funding, if
I mean, because that was actually part of the that Peru Lin complex. I mean that I will have to say that was the most epic journey, and I think the videos on the channel, it's the one I've devoted so much to. It was.
Oh, you could tell because you were really pumped in it. It was great. You were in your element, having a great time.
The funny story about that is, I made it to the site and I explored it, and I explained this in the video. I explored it for a couple hours, but the hike to get there was like an hour and a half. And so I left, and I ended up driving 2 hours down south to stay in tune with my itinerary.
Yeah.
And that night, Pete, I was restless. I couldn't sleep. I was like, there's so much at that site, and I was like, I drove 14 hours to get here, and so that morning I woke up early and I drove 2 hours back north just to
had to go back.
I had to go back and document what I could. And I'm glad, and that's when I found the necropolis. And I'm glad I did.
And there you go. Yeah. Sometimes you just have to, you've got to go with your gut. You've got to go with what your body is telling you to do, Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I wasn't going to live with that regret,
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Yeah. I mean, it's not anywhere near as adventurous as you, but I visited Corral, and that's pretty out of the way. You drive up, you go up the Supe Valley. It's all just local farmers. There's no tourists really whatsoever. There's one hotel in the Supe Valley next to Corral, but we were the only guests.
Really?
Nice hotel, but you can tell that they're trying to get the tourists to go there, but it's so remote. You really have to do an overnight there because it's. Yeah. What is it? 5-6 hours from Lima, something like that.
It's
maybe it's not quite as long as that, but it's
4 or 5. It's 4 or 5. It's up there.
It's a distance. We were in like an old tour bus, so that took a while.
Well, and like you said, and I think what they're doing is, there were a couple sites there that when I visited, like the one that they just released and opened for tourism, Peñico. That's just a bit further down the valley from where Corral is. And I was there last year on the tour, and there was a team working, like, I guess in the what would become the parking lot area.
Yeah.
And initially I saw it on Google Earth. And I went there, and it was clear like they were still restoring things. And I just said, hey, you mind if I take a look around? And they were really kind. And, let me see one part of the site, which was amazing. But I say that to say, I think that I don't want to pretend to know what the government is doing, but having another site there's like 18 different sites in the Supe Valley.
There are so many. Yeah. I was going to mention this as well, because as you're going up the valley, the little blue signs in Peru that represent an archaeological site. I'm looking to the left and right, and I'm seeing there's one, there's one, there's one, there's one. And then when you get up to Corral, it's kind of like on like a sandy area above the river. Really, the river's barely ever there. It's just it's like a wadi. It's dry most of the time. And the city it's not in the desert. I originally thought it's a city out in the middle of the desert, because that's kind of what a lot of the news things said about it. But it's quite a fertile land. on high ground, and you look out from the city, and you can see all these other cities, and it's like, oh my god, there are so many of them. This is a whole society.
It was a whole massive society, and
Yeah.
so what I think they're doing is I think they're getting some of these other sites ready for, like when I went to Era de Pando, that's one of my other videos. I could see the stones, the stones placed to create walkways. So I think that they're trying to enhance the number of locations you can get to there.
I mean, what do you? I mean, I think that's good as a whole, because it seems to me that from what I've read about these other Norte Chico or Corral Supe sites, loads of them are just being looted mercilessly.
Yeah. I mean, there's the bigger problem in that area only because there are things to loot. I mean, like probably bodies and things like that, the bone flute instruments. But the fact that it's a pre-ceramic culture, there's and pre-ceramic means pre-metallurgy, so there isn't too much there. The bigger problem in that region, though, is the agriculture. And I've spoken to several archaeologists, and Dr. Ruth Shady has been very public and very vocal about the threats that they're facing, the ever-expanding agriculture. There's land mafias there that work on behalf of corporations, and I mean, they literally threaten the archaeologists at these sites.
And just to add to what you're saying, Ruth Shady was shot, right?
She was shot.
And was this to do with was it the land?
Yes.
Mafioso or whatever? They shot her.
And she's been, I mean, publicly it's been documented, the public death threats of anybody who works for her or her team. And you think about it, it's the last government afforded them a little bit of protection, and this is all from research I did. The last government afforded them a bit of protection by having one police car survey. But that one, how are you going to survey those 18 sites?
It's not great. It's a big valley. It would take quite a few hours to drive from one side to the other, I think, because the land there is really quite wild. It's not a proper road, really.
No, it's not.
And you drive over the river as well at one point, and
you have to
it's a bit intense. Yeah. So it's one police car to protect all of those sites.
And so it's hopefully that's why the whole tourism angle might really help things. Because if there's more income coming, but then again, it's also like, who's getting that income? Is it? Yeah. There's no. The locals aren't really getting it. No. There's a lot.
Locals tend to get shifted off archaeological sites as well, which is the sort of sad thing. Visited Aspero as well, which is another incredible site. That's at the end of the Supe Valley. So the same valley that Corral is on is sort of at the mouth, and this was a big fishing center essentially, and they would basically mass fish, and then they would dry them out and send them inland as food. But that site, they basically just had to shift the people who lived there, down the years, just gradually buying their land and moving them out, and they have no choice.
I mean, the first site I went to back in January of last year, there was a woman who was, I mean, part of this old Warri construction might as well have been part of her house. She's living right up next to it, and that was in such a remote. There's that place is never going to be studied by archaeologists. What was I going to say? The interesting thing about so like you were saying, Aspero, it was all part of the same civilization, and just for a little bit of history, they were trading fish with the people inland, and the people inland, they weren't really growing agriculture. They were growing cotton. And so the cotton would be sent from that. And these guys on the coast could fish.
Yeah.
I'm lagging here. Do you see that?
I think you're okay. I think you seem okay to me. I can hear what you're saying. And the cotton would be used to make the nets as well, which is the fascinating thing. Nets. So there was this symbiosis between Corral inland and then Aspero on the coast, and probably all these other sites as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And there's only minimal evidence of like maize agriculture, right? So like
Very, very minimal.
they were mostly
Ironically,
they were mostly growing cotton, which is interesting. So it was a cotton crop as opposed to a food crop.
absolutely, absolutely. And so the fishing and seafaring were the main sources of sustenance.
Yeah, super important. You
But
might know more
here's
about this than me, but so you go on. You go on.
well, I was just going to say the new theory is that site that they just discovered, Penico. They're saying that it was created about 1,000 years after the main city of Corral, and
Mm,
they're saying Corral kind of gave up or was forced to give up because of climate changes and devastating events that happened, and so they moved further inland and a little bit up into the further up into the Andes. And so that was 1,000 years later. And there you start to see more iconography. So you're seeing this evolution of the culture. And it's my guess, this is just my theory, only because I've explored places even further in the valley and higher up. So I think like even that culture, like Penico, at some point it got devastated by some sort of climate catastrophe. They could no longer grow things there. So then they moved even further inland. And you see another phase of evolution with pottery and things like that being constructed.
So when does pottery come in with these cultures? They don't
They
have
say
it at this.
1800,
So at the end of this
1800.
new site that's been discovered, roundabout.
Correct.
Yeah, interesting, interesting.
Yeah.
My Peruvian prehistory is a little bit shaky between Corral and Chavin. So Chavin is this epic highland site which
Yeah.
used to be thought of as sort of like the mother culture of Peru, but that was in the 1940s. So since then, there's been a lot of older sites that have been discovered. But no, Chavin is that begins my knowledge of sort of the
I
later
mean,
stages that has with the iconography and the pottery and yeah. Have you ever been?
when I was a kid,
Oh,
I actually
amazing!
have
I didn't get a chance to go
one
to
of the
Chavin.
tenant
Yeah,
heads from Shavin.
amazing, amazing. Yeah, that was one of
But
my big. I wanted to go, but didn't get a chance to go. But I'm gonna have to go back and go there.
it's on my list too because it
Yeah,
is one of the most important cultural uh, places in the history of Peru. Chavin
for
was
sure, for sure. Yeah,
for the spread of religion and
yeah, yeah,
it was a paramount civilization and culture that was
for sure.
occupying that space.
I mean, it's got to be one of the most influential places ever, really, because there's a good argument that pretty much every culture that came after in Peru was influenced by Chavin.
Yep. Well, I mean, they're starting to see though that Chavin might have been influenced itself.
Yeah,
Uh,
this is what I was going to ask you about because it's. Do we think there's any link between these later Norte Chico sites and Chavin, or what do you think with that?
I mean, I would have to say yes. I am so near that site, Purulin, and
Mm-hmm.
give me 1 second because I think it's my charger
Oh
that
yeah.
is messing my computer up.
No, no problem at all. Yeah. So
There, okay. Yeah, it wasn't charging. It doesn't.
I'm
Okay.
completely used to technical difficulties over here.
Well, I'm seeing myself like lag terribly on this
I see.
end, so.
You look okay to me, and you sound fine to me.
Okay, excellent.
I'll just check on the chat. Is anybody complaining about the sound? I don't think they are. No, I think we're good.
Okay.
Sorry, you carry on.
Well, so with this was a discovery in 2024 in I believe it's the Lambayeque region, an area called in the Zanya Valley called Ukupe. That's
Okay.
the area, and that's when a temple was discovered with colorful murals and iconography, and it's now suggested that that this was earlier than Chavin, and so it has religious iconography, and so now it's coming into question: did this religious iconography kind of move inland off the coast? And what's interesting
Wow.
is that discovery is very, very close to where Purulin is.
Oh wow.
And
Fascinating.
so,
What's the name of this place? I'll put it up on screen.
if you
No worries
just
if not.
if you just look up Zana, Zana Valley Discovery.
Sure. Let's put that in. All right, got it.
So that I mean, part of the reason of like my whole efforts here is a bunch of these sites are understudied. They don't get eyes on them. We never know when they will get eyes on them, and who knows what's going to happen to them in the future if they don't get looked at.
Yeah, and they are very much at risk.
They are. I mean, I have
Big time. Just from my own travels in Peru, you go. So this is the place. I think is this what you were talking about? Yeah, there we go.
That's exactly it.
There we go. That took all of my mental energy. You know, got
it looks great, Pete. Looks great.
Oh, come on, I'm happy. But yeah, no, you go visiting particularly moche sites and Nazca sites and places like that where they have metallurgy. They are just pockmarked with looters' holes, and it's it's a feature of the sites in Peru. They're just covered in these holes.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a big problem because I mean I'm sure you know more about this than I do, but there are many sites where the looters get there first.
Yeah, I mean absolutely, and there were a few wealthy benefactors, which is why we have such great collections in the museums. There were a lot of Larco Herrera and the other guy's name was Casanelli. And
shout out to the Larco Museum in Lima, which is a phenomenal place. Absolutely phenomenal place.
So these guys had workers that, were in the fields and would come across all this pottery all the time. And they were like, hey, I'll give you a couple bucks. Just bring it to me every time you find something. And now we have these massive, impressive collections. But, I was talking to Dr. Barnhart again. Looting was kind of a pastime. And yeah. I mean, I sent you some of the slides and the videos.
I'll just show. These are some of the thousands of pots that are in the Larco Museum.
Those are all moche. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah,
so each one is different.
They're all completely different. Yeah, they all have real faces. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing to see. Like some of these pots, they really rival kind of like classical Greek sculpture, as far as I'm concerned. They're very naturalistic. They really look like actual faces. It's very cool. And sorry, I interrupted you.
Well, no, and going back to, I mean, one of my big things is like I'm trying to get a better drone to create 3D maps of some of these places and really to create a database, because we need to in case something happens, in case, I don't know, some corporation comes in there and just you've seen it on my channel. I've come across dozens of sites that literally don't exist anymore. They've been completely leveled over to plant agriculture, and I only found those by happenstance, because when I'm doing Google Earth satellite imagery, I'll end up rolling the date back, and so I see, there's these things here in 2015. All of a sudden, it's 2023 on the set, and it's completely gone, and nobody knows about it. There was no accounting of that location, and we don't know how it might have fit into a bigger culture, the cultural history of that area. So
yeah,
there's a lot happening, and plus, I think a lot of these sites could really benefit from future research, further research. New dating, for example, is a big one that I think needs to be done.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's a tragedy when one of these sites gets destroyed, and it happens more often than you think. It'll be happening now, right now, as we're talking. There'll be a place being destroyed. Yep. Probably many. It's just, I mean, in many ways, you can kind of see why these things happen, because Peru, unfortunately, is quite a poor country, and there's a lot of people who are really struggling, and this is a way to kind of make money, isn't it?
Well, I would like from what I've seen, I would be playing a much more empathetic tune if what I witnessed was the local, indigenous
Yeah.
farmers who need the land to build, for produce and their families and the town that they're a part of. But everything I came across was not a local endeavor. These were corporate endeavors. And
Wow.
and so the corporate, and I'd have more empathy too, is if perhaps that the corporate efforts were going back to some of the local peoples there. The only reason I say that is what would be ideal is to not tear down any of these places, of course, but there's so many of them. And let's just say if you absolutely, need to feed your town and this is the only spot and it's just this one little structure here, you got all the info. I mean, it's their land. It's their patrimony. They can really do what they want with it. Nobody else has a right to say that.
For sure. But as you say, if it's an outside corporation coming in, oh no. Oh, it's very bad.
It's very bad. And it's
Very
happening
bad.
so often. And
So
and I don't know.
we're talking a big industrial farming company from Lima or something coming in. Yeah. And Peru's a big country, so these could be many, many, many hours away from Lima.
Well, and that's the thing. The other thing is the central government is not sending. Nobody's keeping tabs on these places. Like the places I went, I wouldn't be surprised if some of them just don't exist when I go back, and nobody would know about it.
Yeah,
nobody, because they're not sending any. There's no official from the Ministry of Culture to keep tabs on these places. There's no way to communicate what's happening, and so.
I mean, I imagine there's no funding for it. I don't know. I don't want to talk too much about it, but many people in Peru told me it's quite a corrupt place.
That's the sentiment. I mean, I did a video on that. I mean, 7 of the last 8 presidents in Peru have been arrested or exiled because of corruption.
Yeah.
And it's systemic. It's really systemic. I mean, hell, Dr. Ruth Shady, one of the most prestigious archaeologists, can't get funding to help protect her archaeological team at some of these sites.
Yeah. How? It's world famous site, Corral. It should be getting everything it needs.
But to talk about the, quote, corruption, it was earlier this year. I don't know if they changed it, but it was announced in the news that they were allocating 40% of the Nazca lines to be used for mining purposes. I know that guy kind of got fought a little bit.
Yeah, I heard about this too.
And so,
not good.
And then also they, in 2024, they passed new legislation that basically allows forestry to happen in the Amazon without having to get any sort of permission, that you can do it. And it also any illegal forestry that happened prior to this legislation, well, those people get a pass. Those companies get a pass. So it's like the Wild West out there for these corporations to go in there and just kind of have at it. And so much is lost in the process because they're not documenting these things.
Of course not. Of course not.
So,
yeah. It's devastating, really. I mean, it's amazing that the sites that we have discovered and we do know about are there. Because, I mean, a Chavine or a Corral, they could have been destroyed at some point without us even knowing they existed.
Yeah, and I mean, but there's sites everywhere. You just go up the coast and you start to get into the Mocha territory and Trujillo and, the Temple of the Sun and the Moon. And I mean, and just the iconography there is just so amazing. It's so amazing.
So in regards to that, okay, I'm going to ask you a question. So Corral, Aspero, Vichama, Bandoria, all these other sites, do you think they were independent of each other, or do you think they were part of the same sort of political organization, or do you think it was entirely like a religious, cultural sort of union between them? Because there's very little evidence of warfare, right?
That is there's 1,000 years without any sort of evidence of war.
Yeah, which is absolutely baffling. I love
I
it.
think that it was one large, massive culture. As far as the spiritual practices, it's so hard to speak to that without any evidence.
It's impossible. Yeah.
But I mean, it's also, there's a reason they were building temples in these formations. And one of the links between all of these is within the construction methods are these sunken circular plazas. And so like they're at the front center of each of these temples. And that's a big staple of Norte Chico construction.
Yep.
And, from the research, and it's in the last video on the YouTube channel, under the site of Sechin Bajo in the Casma Valley, which is almost 200 kilometers to the north of Corral and Aspro and all these places, they found a sunken circular plaza buried underneath that archaeological site. So, and then in the intermediate valleys within that 200 kilometers, there's also temples with these sunken circular plazas. And so I'm thinking it's all part of the same culture.
I'm inclined to agree with you. I think there's got to be some sort of at least echo of the same religion kind of thing that's going on, going out to these other sites. I love things like this because it sort of reminds me of like a stone circle or something like that. What was happening inside these things,
Why was it so important that they kept it,
so important. It's got to be some sort of meeting place, right? Or it's got to be people will gather together. Something happens in the middle.
Something definitely did, and the other and the other part of it, all their alignments, the alignments,
many.
The majority of them are aligned, north northeast for the rising sun on the solstice, and you don't just come up with that and do it independently.
No,
it's maybe here or there, but there's if that was the only correlation, maybe, but then there's just too many different little nuggets that create an potentially intertwined culture.
And they were very good at these astronomical alignments. It blows my mind. They were very, very interested in the stars.
Yep.
And they would spend a lot of their time looking at them. And so with Corral, how much of Corral survives in Chavin? What do we think there? I mean, it's difficult to say.
I mean, that's a good question.
All completely different, because you do get obviously entirely different cultural things just exploding out of nowhere.
Well, one of the things is, I guess the question becomes, what can you trace? I will say that the construction at Chavin is a little different than the construction down along the coast.
Yeah, it's very different.
If you're in different areas, you're probably going to be building things differently. So there's that. There is, and I wish I would have traced this further, but I think Chavin has one of the oldest, we thought for a long time, the oldest iconography of like these crossed hands, I think, that comes from Chavin. And it's in one of it's like protruding from one of the walls. And I think I want to say there's something comparable that was found at Corral. Don't quote me on that, but that would That would be a chink in the connection. That.
So interesting. And this is Shavine.
And that is Shavine, yeah. And there's a let me see. I might have it somewhere.
I should have some more images of Shavine to show, actually.
But there are these arms at
I mean, these are some of the sort of wild things that were going on at Shavine.
That's the
I think this is the Teo obelisk.
Yeah, yep. And that was found inside one of them, in one of the subterranean chambers there.
And there's a lot going on. Show another one. Oh, here we go. This is a better version. So yeah, the idea is it would have been colourful to begin with, and pretty wild to look at.
Am I able to share just one quick screenshot, or should I send it to you?
I
wonder if I can just send it to you.
I think send it to me. I haven't worked out how to share your screen yet. Maybe we'll get there next stream. But yeah, you have these kind of like, they look like monsters to me. They're these sort of beasties all over the place, and they have these big sharp teeth, and I think there was some psychedelic drugs going on at Shavine. So I always think, if you're on psychedelic drugs looking at this stuff, that's a whole experience, isn't it?
Well, and I think Dr. Barnhart has done great work kind of tracing this psychedelic evolution of, these deities that are being shown in the Amazon and at places like Shavine, and where like they had snuff pipes, and there's a lot of this iconography where the faces have like snot coming down their nose, and so what it is thought is that the shaman would get bombarded with the substance in the nose, and it would cause the snot to come out and stuff, and then would begin this transformation into this jaguar figure. And so we actually see that a lot in some of this iconography here.
And is this Dr. Barnhart's idea of the fanged deity?
The fanged deity.
This is because this is the thing that he thinks started at Shavine, and it carries on all the way through. Yeah. So all the way through to the Inca.
Yep,
which is it's a long time. 2,000. What's that? 2,500 years.
And he
So long religion.
And it ends up just kind of peaking, showing itself everywhere, and even into Mesoamerica.
Oh, now that's interesting.
It is very interesting.
That's super interesting.
Especially with the jaguar. But then the argument also is because
was this already a feature that was there thousands of years before, maybe?
Exactly. Or is there something kind of inherent that happens on, when it's well known that shamans in the variety of cultures would partake in these hallucinogenic drugs. And so is there something universal in the hallucinogenic experience that, you start seeing the same things, and you start having these people transforming into jaguars, so to speak.
That's really interesting. Yeah, I mean, Göbekli Tepe has people that look, and Karahan Tepe as well, that has people who look like they're possibly transforming into jaguars. There's a lot of similar sort of bestial monsters that are around the place, and
I just sent you to your email the picture. So we have the Shavine one, and then this, I believe, was found at Sechin.
Oh wow! Almost.
So I mean, it's crossed hands, and so it's a bit different, but could there be a connection?
I mean, it's similar. It's similar enough to just have disembodied hands there doing that,
right?
And then the previous one was crossed. It's similar enough to seem sort of derived from the same thoughts.
So I think there's
That's really cool. And these are separated by how many hundreds of years? It's like it's a few, I think, isn't it?
hundreds of years. I think so, because I think we're that. I don't think like the one from Setchin was. It's not dated to thousands of years earlier. I think it's dated to a comparable time.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Well, there we go. Yeah, I love finding these links between seemingly disparate sites. I think that's a really interesting way of looking at it, because you see how things connect up, and nothing exists in isolation.
And I agree with you. And I think for me personally, this is, I need a little bit more evidence. Like I will point out this connection and this possibility, but I need a couple more of them.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean. So
yeah. You gotta ask all the questions, but we can't say definitively very much, because we need quite a bit of evidence to do that. But even then, when there's a bunch of evidence, everything can be thrown out, which is the great thing about these sorts of things.
That's true. I mean, and there needs to be there has to be a level of open-mindedness
for sure
in everybody involved in these fields, and I feel we're in a weird climate with all of this stuff.
Well, there's sort of warfare going on in sort of popular archaeology. It's a bit of a battleground at the moment.
It definitely is, and I mean, I see both sides. I just think there's a lack of willingness to, I don't know. Again, I can see both sides. It's just everything's become so calcified.
It has. It's I mean, it's not to go into politics, because I don't want to do that, but it's sort of, we have the right and the left, and they're very entrenched, and people don't like to speak to each other anymore, because if speaking happens, then arguments result, and it just leads to more entrenchment on both sides. And it seems similar in this whole archaeology thing as well.
And it's for me as a creator, like I don't know, I got backlash for just mentioning Graham Hancock's name, for example, and that's where I see because once somebody just hears a name, and I'm just saying, oh, he made a show, you know what I mean? And even if I just leave it at that, there are some viewers who instantly shut off because it's so
I'm sure.
And so a lot gets missed in that, and for me it's unfortunate too, because a lot of times I watch things from both sides, and I end up learning a lot, and a lot of the independent researchers, it ends up fueling my own independent research, and I come across something I never would have come across before. And I can only imagine if some of these academics, for example, if they were to do, what stuff could they come across? And some of these independent researchers, if they followed with the threads of some of these academics, and so I think we'd get a lot further if there was just a little bit more open and more softness, but it's very
yeah, I think softness is key as well, because there's like battle lines are drawn, and then where can you go from that? It's difficult to restart a conversation again.
And that's
when the doors are shut.
And I think the doors have been shut with such vitriol from both sides that
sides, and
it's
for sure.
And I can see how it's gotten there.
It's difficult. Yeah, it's a difficult one.
So,
I wish we could all get along.
I wish so too, and I think that they're. I mean, the fact of the matter is that. Barnhart said it. Archaeology moves at a glacial pace. The world of academic archaeology moves at a glacial pace, and one of the things that, even in the face of evidence, it takes decades for a paradigm to change. And the best example of that is in my documenting is the site of Waka Prieta, and Tom Dillahay and his team. For the longest time, Waka Prieta was dated around 6000 BCE, and Tom Dillahay and his team come in and they're like, well, you guys took samples from this side. We're going to take samples from this side. And they put together this massive set of data. And it took decades for mainstream archaeology to acknowledge that this site is now dating back to 12,000 years ago. So, and that happens. And I think it will happen with more sites.
So I'm just going to show a picture of Waka Prieta to everybody.
Yep.
Oh, here we are. Great, done. So this is next to El Brujo, which is a Moche site, one of the best, absolutely incredible. And this is, I mean, when you're there, it sort of looks like another Moche mound, but as you were saying, Raoul, its construction was begun, 14,000 years ago? 13,000 years ago? An outrageous time ago.
And those are the conservative dates. From Dillahay's research.
I know that Ed Barnhart, who we keep referencing, the great Ed Barnhart, he refers to this as the oldest pyramid in the world.
Yep.
And there's a good argument for that, because I mean, what is a pyramid? A pyramid is like a mounded up amount of material to be sort of a triangle type shape, and that's what this is. Well,
and so they found under. It was found, and when I did my video on Purulin, I looked into this because initially it was kind of carved out of the bedrock, but then there was piles of trash or refuse that were they capped over their refuse, and it became this pyramid structure. And so it was Junius Bird that did a lot of the initial research there, and they found chambers and middens in there. It was there before the Huacacao and Huaca Cortada, which are built right there near it.
That's right. So, I'm always thinking about what ancient history was like to ancient people. And so I'm thinking when the Moche came here, they must have put their settlement because of this settlement that had been there before, because it's like right next to it.
I would think so. And I would think that, and there's a couple of sites like that have different, well, I mean, so the fact is you're living on the coast like this. I mean, this is literally, I could throw a Frisbee into the ocean from there.
Yeah.
And so it's right there on the coast. And so and it's documented, and you can see the scars on the earth along the coast from, massive tsunamis that must have hit, these massive El Nino storms that are famous in those regions. And so, entire civilizations are just decimated. And
over and over and over again.
Over and over again. And then they have to go further inland and up to the coast or up into the Andes. And then 1,000 years go by, and they're, or several hundred years, and then they start to trickle back. And so I've always, my theory's been like, I think it's beyond, this was a prime location. I think that there was some sort of reverence being paid, some sort of homage to their predecessing cultures.
Yeah, I think so. And when Junius Bird was working here, I remember reading about it, he just lived in a tent next to the pyramid.
Yep.
It was 1940s, I think, so quite a long time ago. And he was a very old school explorer, archaeologist type.
Yeah. He did a lot down in Peru.
Yeah. And a lot of the things from this are actually at the Natural History Museum in New York. And I saw a lot of it last year. And there are crazy things from Huaca Prieta. We were talking about cotton earlier at Corral. There's cotton at Huaca Prieta. So they were making cotton really, really early to fish. And you probably know about this as well. There's the whole idea that civilization may have been begun in this part of the world through maritime activities rather than agricultural produce. It's still, it's up for debate. But I
think that's absolutely true. It's they are finding, when they're finding digging into the refuse piles, they're finding fish bones, and they're not finding a lot of corn or anything like that.
No.
So
And I
it's
know that
definitely a very maritime base.
there's a school of archaeology who possibly think that it was places like this that civilization, quote marks, began in Peru.
I mean, it is definitely a cradle of civilization. I mean, that is for sure. I mean, my main thing is, I mean, if I can ever, if the channel grows and I don't know, I network well enough, and maybe I would love to support some sort of archaeological team reinvestigating that site of Purulin, because I mean, even Walter Alva said there's indicate in the survey report. I mean, there's indications that it's older than the date they're giving it. And
Yeah. Why not?
So part of my reason for that is all the pyramid structures that were there at that site. And again, I mean, the videos on my channel, you can see all this stuff. But the pyramids were carved out of the bedrock, and so that's a very similar to Huaca Prieta.
Wow.
And if they were doing it down there, who's to say they weren't doing it up there? Much earlier.
And that's a little bit like the site of Kawachi, right? They had these sort of hills that they then shaped further into pyramid temples.
Yep.
I think originally the idea was that they were just temples, but then it was realized they were kind of shaping the natural landscape around them and using it to their advantage.
I mean, and isn't it it's kind of the same thing some of the Native Americans were doing in the United States?
Absolutely. I love finding these similarities between the Native Americans in the United States and the rest of the Americas, because they weren't, it's all part of the same people who crossed over the Bering Strait all the time ago, 12,000 years ago, whatever.
When you think about it, okay, so we're talking about these sites, and you're saying there's fishing nets, right, at Huaca Prieta, right? And we know that, this was established, 12,000 years ago was the first, evolution, it appears. Whether or not I would have to look into the research to see if the fishing, but there is organic material that they've dated that is going to be around that time. So it wouldn't surprise me if it was cotton. But if you're using cotton to go fish, I highly doubt they're standing, for, let's say they were around for 500 years. And this notion that for 500 years, they were just standing in knee-high water, throwing nets out to catch fish. Somebody at some point is going to see a piece of wood floating and say, "Oh,
for sure."
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
I mean, if you're fishing, you're seafaring, in my opinion.
For sure. I mean, people have speculated about, Neanderthals using boats, even Homo erectus using boats, something like 1 million years ago, and it's just wood, as we know, doesn't really survive in the archaeological record very often anyway. Peru's actually unusual because it sometimes does survive because of the dry conditions. But even then, if you get back 12,000 years ago, there's not really much that's going to survive that long. Of course, I mean, I think they were using boats for sure.
They would have to be. I mean, it's
yeah.
And like you said, most of that wood you're talking about being preserved is from much more recent times in comparison.
Yeah, way more recent. Yeah, I think there is some from Corral, possibly. I might be wrong there, but like very small little bits.
I'll tell you what's interesting about one of the findings at Corral is they found a quipu.
Yes.
So that I don't know why it's not bigger, groundbreaking news, but I mean that's.
So I suppose if nobody's heard of what a quipu is, I'll just put it on screen. These are the Inca. It's like an Inca writing system.
Yep.
Essentially,
and
the way
for the
completely
longest
different
time,
to anywhere else.
For the longest time, they said it was an accounting. It's an accounting tool like an abacus. But even in the Spanish chronicles, like when the Quipu Camaras were the name of the people who could interpret this, and so the Spanish took some of the Quipu Camara to the Spanish court and would have them read these things to I guess queen at the time, and reading the Quipus, they were telling stories about them. So the fact is, even in those original Spanish chronicler accounts, this is much more than a writing system. And actually, Harvard is doing a study on it now where they're trying to figure out using AI to see if they can piece together a language from this.
I absolutely love this because generally I'm quite terrified of AI, but when it comes to things like this, like archaeology, I'm like, okay, maybe we can finally unravel the Indus Valley civilization script and, you know, these mysteries that have been contemplated on for so long. I think the loss of the Quipu Comaras and their ability to read these quipus is one of the great tragedies of the last 500 years, because
Absolutely.
you know, what stories could these tell? You know, it would be amazing. It'd be amazing to know.
For the audience listening, the Spanish ordered the execution of every single person who could read these things, and the destruction of any of them any of the quipus they could actually find. So much has been erased. There's a good handful that survive, but in comparison, it's only a handful.
Yeah, and you got to think the ones that survive are probably not necessarily representative of the whole lot. There may have been much more grand, bigger ones, and they've all gone.
I mean, apparently they had a library of up in Cusco. There was like a library of them.
It would have been amazing to see.
For the longest time, we thought that these were, kind of an Inca invention, or maybe even a Wari invention before the Inca, and I think that's correct. But the fact that they found it at Corral is just mind-blowing.
Absolutely, yeah. From what I've read, archaeologists long thought that the Inca, big, powerful, strong empire, developed most of their society like based on the backs of the Wari, because the Wari were like a big empire that came before them.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of the things they were doing were much older, thousands of years older.
I mean, the Inca definitely, it's not mince words about the prowess of the Inca, but they did adopt so much from all the other cultures that came, and that was part of their genius and gave them such strength.
They were the Romans of Peru, the Romans would take everything
really
from everybody. They, boat building from the Carthaginians, society, much of their society from the Greeks. The Inca were the same, but they did it better than everybody else, on a bigger, grander scale.
And they really did.
Yeah,
they really did.
Yeah. What were we saying before quipus? Don't even know how we got here. I was going to suggest you have sent me an absolutely comprehensive PowerPoint presentation. So if you like, we could begin on this.
Yeah, I mean, if there's anything in there that jumped out at you.
So I mean, we'll show this on screen. Okay.
Well, that's just
and we can go through this.
Yeah,
this is little Raul.
Yep.
Fantastic.
Around 10-ish years old. It's back in that was actually at Machu Picchu. I found seashells embedded in one of the cave walls, and so
wow,
that just kind of blew my mind. That's me. I have the old high 8 video of me. Dad, look what I found. I found seashells.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah, so
love that. You've got to put that into one of your videos.
It'll come.
Yeah. You got to do it. You got to do it. That's brilliant.
And so, but I was fascinated. You're at 8,000 feet, and so
it's a long way from the sea.
It's a long way from the sea, and so I would study over the next couple decades, about the cataclysmic changes that our Earth has experienced, but also the trade networks and how important seashells were. So, it's very possible that this was from either of those factors.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you see seashells in really inland sites all over the world. There's definitely a real importance that was given to these things. I mean, they're pretty cool. Even today, when you see a seashell on the beach.
Damn. But they were especially the the spondylus shell.
Shells. Yeah.
That was I mean, that was the currency, one of the most prized artifacts of the Inca Empire, and
I'm sure, as you know, they're all over the Nazca lines as well.
Yes. Yep.
So people were taking. What have I done?
That's good. We'll go through to here.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's we've kind of covered that. That's what I've been doing, using Google Earth to find these
We'll
places.
go through. So, okay, this is an incredible. This is your footage of Huaca Prieta?
Yes.
Fantastic. Yeah, much better than the picture I could get. It's a big site, isn't it?
It is a very big site. Yep.
And then you can sort of see a little bit of similarities to Corral, I suppose. It's a similar sort of idea. Corral's much more developed, obviously, because it's stone built pyramid, intricately made. And then you have the sunken plaza in front.
But the point of this is basically that, these sites were overlooked for the longest time until they were reevaluated. You know, and so I'm making the argument that a lot of the places I've come across, or a lot of the places that, there's a Ministry of Culture sign that has, this was created between this date and this date. Well, we've already had to change that a couple times on a couple different sites. So the likelihood
absolutely,
we're going to have to do it again is high.
Yeah, because I mean, as you were saying, many of the sites were surveyed 50 years ago, 60 years ago.
Yep.
If not longer.
Yep.
And this is Purulén.
That's Purulén.
Here we go.
So, I mean, I looked at that, and it was a friend, a follower who became a friend on Instagram, who sent me this location, and I started looking at it, and I was like, all of those pyramids are facing northeast, so they're aligned to that solstice. That I got to go check this out. I don't know. I couldn't find any. One of the amazing things that I'm grateful and humbled to actually be able to say is, from the last expedition, I was able to capture the only modern media that exists of many of these places. You won't find it anywhere, the pictures or the video. And so I'm fortunate that I put in the work to get it, because it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. And that is really important, because I mean, if there's a site, there's no images of it, there's no video of it anywhere, it's a lot easier for somebody to destroy it for profit.
Yep. I will say, from this site, there is, in that survey, there are a few pictures of these, but like I said, the modern, within the past,
I wouldn't have thought there'd be aerial photography.
There was, I have to go back and look and see. It looked aerial. They could have been on one of the mountains, though. Yeah.
No, that would make sense. And then this was the necropolis that you found.
Yep. So that, so like I said, everything at this site.
That's the sea, right? Over there in the distance. Wow.
That is the sea. Yep.
Incredible.
And so you look at it, it's 89 degrees. That gap between those two pillars is 89 degrees. So it is almost perfectly due, east-west. All the pyramids at the site were carved out of the bedrock. And so I saw these stones, and I was like, this is weird. And behind them, you can see looting pits that we talked about earlier. And so I was like, there are looting pits all throughout this little alcove. And so the alignment, the fact that these things were carved, the fact that, I mean, it looks like a place of reverence. And so it is my guess that it is a necropolis.
Yeah. Wow. It's a really remote site, isn't it? You look at it and it's just dry landscape stretching out into the distance.
Well, also think about the erosion that you see how close it is to the coast.
Yeah.
And so the salt and the air and the wind and the sand, I mean, it is just eating away at what used to be there consistently.
Yeah. And what dates do we have dates for this site?
They have suggested 1800 BCE. And that's because there were a couple pieces of pottery that were found. And when I say a couple, there's like only a couple, which is, you would think a ceramic culture. I've been to ceramic sites. You're going to find a lot more pottery shards.
I mean, if you go to an archaeological site, you can often see them covering the ground.
Exactly.
Absolutely everywhere.
That was not the case here, which leads me to believe that, yes, there was an iteration. I don't know. I think with so many, there's like 16 platform pyramids at this site. It's ridiculous. And it makes me think like this was I don't think it was a thriving city, perhaps. I think it was more so a place of religious veneration or pilgrimage. That would be my guess, just based on the structures. Um, and maybe these few artifacts were offerings. But
Interesting, yeah. So not too different to Kawachi as well, because that's thought to be sort of this ceremonial center
yeah,
where people came.
yeah,
Originally, when the archaeologists went there, they thought city because that's all they could really. That was their frame of mind at the time. But people possibly didn't live there full time, and they would come
correct.
maybe once a year, maybe twice a year, and bring offerings. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the same.
I wouldn't be surprised either. And so, like I said in the in that survey, Walter Alva says 1800 BCE, but there's indication that is older occupation, and they just leave it at that.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, oh man, to think what Walter Alva, God, what's his name?
Walter Alva, yeah. Did I
Walter
say
Alva?
Yeah.
No, sorry, I've just for some reason I think Walter Alvarez, but Walter Alva. Just to think what he would have thought when he got there. I mean, he's thinking, do I dedicate more of my time here, or do I go further up the coast to Sipan? I mean, because he became one of the biggest Peruvian archaeologists ever.
Absolutely.
One of the biggest archaeologists in the world ever, most famous wise, because the Lord of Sipan is one of the greatest archaeological discoveries ever.
Yep. I mean, the metallurgy of the Sipan culture, that Lambayeque region, is just incredible. It is incredible.
It's like seeing Tutankhamun's tomb.
Yep.
It's the same kind of level because it's the same artistry and, just numeric, just quantity of goods. There's so much. There's so much there.
I mean, and then you go to like the La Herrera Museum and you see some of the artifacts that have been found, and like these necklaces made of, each bead is half gold and the other half of the same bead is silver. It's just like the chemistry that went into this is just remarkable.
It's just wild. We'll just go off topic quickly because this is the Lord of Sipan, one of 14 royal graves that were found, all of them just completely covered in ornate goods, just absolutely wild. I mean, and this is the Moche culture, which also, well, it's sorry, you
evolution. It's the
evolution of the Moche. Evolution. Of the Moche.
It's Sipan. I think they have their own dedicated. Or Sikan, sorry.
Sorry. This is Sikan. And it's north of Moche, right? North of the Moche Valley.
It is north. Now, Sikan was the culture. This is the Lord of Sipan, though. So, very close. Same thing.
Yeah. And they also had pyramids and in some ways similar to the later Inca and similar to the Chavin that came before.
The pyramids there are, I mean, I remember going when I was a kid. I have video footage of when I was a kid, because back then they're, with the other local kids, and we're all climbing on top of the Pyramid of the Sun and or the Temple of the Sun, and so now 30 years later there's protections, which is good.
Yeah. So you've climbed on those pyramids?
Oh yeah.
Amazing.
And that was couldn't be more than 10 years old doing it with again the little kids from the local village and stuff like that. But they don't look like pyramids. They're so eroded now because they were all made of adobe. And over time, I mean, it looks like melted plastic. It's so weathered.
They're interesting looking for sure, but you'd be forgiven, for not thinking they were pyramids.
Yep.
There's one of them at Moche. I can't remember if it's the Temple of the Sun or the Temple of the Moon. One of them, the Spanish diverted a river to try and destroy the thing, and they couldn't actually do it because it was too big.
That's exactly what we're talking. What you're talking about. That is the Temple of the Sun.
That's the one. Yeah, Temple of the Sun. But they gave it a good go. So it's
they definitely did. They like diverted the entire river to get the artifacts out of the temple. It's crazy.
Yeah. And it would have been considerably bigger and considerably more impressive.
Well, I mean, those are to think about it though. And I have some footage. I'll put together a video at some point in the future. But you know, these are individual Adobe bricks, which is just incredible. Like, you know, mud bricks that are stacked upon each other. So the time and the effort it took to construct these, it's incredible.
Yeah. And they are some of them surrounded by little nets of cotton. Can't
What do you
think
mean?
if that's so. It may be a corral where basically each brick is surrounded by a little net of cotton, and it protects it from earthquakes. Possibly, it was one idea that I read.
Yeah, I've seen that. Honestly, I would have to look further into it. I know what you're talking about down in the
Yeah,
Corral Supe region. I'm not so sure here.
it's ingenious technology, is what it is.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So that's Moche. Where are we back here?
No, that's just a little video clip of what it looks like. This is it's all on the channel too for anybody. Pillars of the Past 101 on YouTube.
Extremely warm is what it looks like to me.
Yeah, I mean just and I could barely get my drone in the air because it was so windy.
Oh
I mean,
man, yeah.
That's man-made.
Yeah, it's wild. Absolutely amazing.
So this is one of the ones that there was no. It's at the top right. This is one of the ones that did not have any Ministry of Culture sign next to it.
Mm-hmm.
There was no evidence that archaeologists had ever been there. I saw the left image on Google Earth, and I saw the circle-looking thing up, and I was like, "This looks like Corral. This looks like the sunken circular plaza."
Oh yeah, here's the plaza here. Wow.
Yep, and I was like, "This has to be a temple." So I took the journey. I went, and it's funny. I got lost, and I actually asked one of the locals working in his field, and I just said, "Do you know where they know where the ruins are? They're like, just go down that way, and you'll find them." So I think on the next page is I put what I actually found. This is what I found on top of it. You can see their structure buried underneath all that rubble.
Wow.
And pottery and ceramics.
Yeah.
But it's decimated, and I would have never known unless that sunken circular plaza kind of gave it away, which leads me to believe this is comparable with the Norte Chico culture. It's got the sunken circular plaza.
And where is Ancash?
Ancash is a region. I have this is in one of the adjacent valleys, a few valleys up from Supe.
Okay.
With something like this, I've sent the coordinates to the Ministry of Culture, so we'll see what they do. But when it's stuff like this, for me, I want to go through like the proper channels first. So it's something I'm very
of course
firm with on my channel, and I make sure to meticulous, especially when it comes to burial sites or places that have been unexcavated.
Of course,
I make sure that the exact location is obscured, or nothing would kind of give that away, just to protect the cultural heritage and the patrimony. But I document as much as I can.
No, that makes perfect sense. That's good. It's good to know. Wow, that's amazing though. That it really does look like those sunken plazas at Corral and places like that.
I did like a live, I think, on Instagram the day. Man, I'm almost in tears driving in the car, and I was just like, I found a temple. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, so you've submitted this to the relevant authorities.
Yeah, you put the coordinates in there, and you know, Dr. Barnhart, you know, said it could go one of two ways. One, you know, there's so many sites in Peru, who knows what'll ever come from it. He said worst case scenario, you know, they accuse you of excavating or something like that. And so, that's why I also document everything I do. So there's nothing to debate there, so to speak.
Yeah. No, I mean, and I suppose hopefully best case scenario, it gets excavated.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's man, what a place. Yeah, I mean, there are really tens of thousands of sites like this in Peru, and it's just on a scale that it's near unfathomable to contemplate that there are so many sites out there, many that have never been even surveyed.
And I was thinking about this recently, like if you go back to that last picture and think about how much work it would take to excavate.
So much,
right?
So much. Yeah.
I used to have this thought.
So much money. So much money
and manpower. Yeah. And I used to have this, and it wasn't until like kind of this past trip really where I was a lot more critical and, why don't you guys get out there and do this? There's so much stuff out here. What a waste. Until I started putting eyes on some of these things and recognizing that time and effort just to clear it, not even excavate, just to clear it.
And also not even to preserve it afterwards, because a lot of sites, for example, that were dug up, say 100 years ago, the resources just aren't there to continue to preserve the sites, and then they just get lost, eroded away by the rain and whatever else, and then they're gone forever.
So I do understand, and like hopefully as technology evolves, you're able to scan into the ground better and get more visual stuff. But
yeah,
again, I do understand in a general way why universities and archaeologists kind of have to be choosy.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, funding is a main thing.
Yeah, but when you have something like this is if we're saying those other things that look like this are temples, this is probably a temple. Yeah. Temples have prominent historical relevance, so I would think that from what it could tell us about how far this culture might have stretched, it would be an advantageous one to excavate. And there's clearly structures buried under there.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. Watch this space, people. Hopefully it'll get dug.
Yeah. This is a site. It had a Ministry of Culture sign. It's called this thing stretched for almost a mile. The architecture.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was unfortunately it was so windy right there on the coast. It did have a Ministry of Culture sign. That's how I know it's called El Tablazo. But there were thousands. The full video of this one is also on the YouTube channel. And I want to go back there because what looks like megalithic stones in the bottom. I mean, I want to go find another section of the site that has the similar stones. So far, this is the only one. Which, I mean, I know nature can do some wild things. This looks like construction to me, but again, this was the only location. There was only one little strip of the site that had this.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I was going to say, where is this? But it's a secret location.
Well, it's further north, and I put the name on there. So, but the other thing is, even with the names of some of these sites, to find. I mean, I can't tell you the hours that I've spent trying to research things.
Yeah, absolutely. And you speak Spanish as well. So for somebody like me, my Spanish is quite limited. Dos cerveza, por favor.
Sometimes that's all you need.
Sometimes that's all you need, or just hola, smile, wave. Spanish, Hispanic people are very, very friendly, but there's only so far you can go, particularly with the research, and a lot of it is only in Spanish. So I do struggle.
Well, and oftentimes, I'll spend hours looking. Like a site like this is only referenced, for example, in a paper as a combination of other sites, so it doesn't have its own research.
Yeah.
But it was an impressive site that is definitely worthy of attention.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
we're talking of thousands of pottery shirts. So, like we were talking about the other site, Peru not having really any. This had thousands. Everywhere I walked was a pottery shirt.
Wow.
And so this civilization was, I don't know what happened to it.
But they were
But
certainly
again,
making pots. Yeah.
the full videos on the YouTube.
Incredible. Oh, and we go from the incredible to the very sad.
Yep.
A full 8-kilometer ridge of looting holes.
Yeah, that's all.
Wow.
I mean, it breaks your heart.
Yeah.
It really does.
And so, do we know what is here? Is this going to be a burial ground?
I have what's there on the next couple slides.
Okay.
This is one example of. So this is literally on that ridge in one of the sections.
So somebody's looted it, left the bones.
Typically at these looted sites, you'll see some of these bones on display like that. But I mean, it's every little thing of white you see is a bone. There's cotton, there's hair, there's pottery. And that's just a small section of that. I mean, it's like
8 kilometers.
Yeah, and then that was probably 0.1.
That's insane. That is absolutely insane. Do you get a bit creeped out when you see all these bones? Or are you not bothered?
I get bothered by what you'll see on the 2 slides after this. So this is an example of how this is from the Chachia Cemetery in Nazca. Anybody can go there. They have the mummies preserved as they were found. And so I have this on here for reference as to how they were interred.
Yep.
In a seated position, wrapped with cotton, wrapped with textile, wrapped with ropes, and then placed into the ground. So that's your reference point for what you're about to see.
Wow. Okay. So there's not a lot of respect.
I mean, that mummy has been torn up and
ransacked.
And this is in an adjacent location to where that looting was. That's all cotton, and so it was once seated, the cotton, the rope, the hair. I mean, and I imagine looters were looking for some sort of metallurgy or things like that. But I've seen the skulls and the bones before. I haven't seen the savagery on this level until this past expedition.
Yeah, this seems like somebody had a grudge against this mummy. This is pretty wild. What else have we got? Oh. Devastation.
Mm-hmm. So it's
elongated skull.
Yeah.
And what do you do about this then? I mean, you can report this, I suppose.
I actually talked to I know Brian Forrester has done a lot of work with the skulls in particular, so I imagine he has the connections at the museums and things like that. So I actually contacted him, and I said, what should I do? Should I take this to the museum? Or and he said, honestly, they have so many of them, they're not, and the officials in this area aren't going to do anything about it. So I covered it up.
There are hundreds of these things, aren't there? These elongated skulls.
I mean, that was just, at one of these random burial sites. And so, I noted I have the location, I have the, pinpoint of where it was at. But, until I know for certain that anything's going to be done with it, there isn't too much to do about it at the moment.
Yeah, no. Yeah. And this is another thing of like, why don't we excavate all of these sites? Many of the museums don't want the things that get taken out of the sites.
Yeah, there's too many of them, and there's, and I don't know. I have no idea about the politics or the procedures. like I don't know if a museum or if a university comes in and does an excavation in one portion and then displays, if there's an obligation to do more of that same site. I don't know. I don't know how any of that stuff works.
Yeah.
So
I know that, for example, the Larco Museum in Lima is pretty much at capacity, and it's just because the things that are on display is only a fraction of what's in the back.
Oh yeah.
And it's the same at, for example, the British Museum or the Natural History Museum. They're all just full. So there's that. There probably is a fair bit of politics there, to be honest. And here we go, the artifacts.
Yeah.
That looks Nazca to me, top, middle.
Yep. It's all. I would say that's definitely Nazca. Nazca has just such beautiful, beautiful painted pottery.
It does. It really does.
I would say that some of those other ones with the painting on them are Nazca. The jug-looking thing in the middle right, I want to say that's Wari, only because the Wari were used. At first, I thought Nazca, but the Wari were very famous for doing face stuff.
Mm.
And so the Wari took over the Nazca.
Yeah, I was going to say they kind of took over the place.
Yeah.
Before the Inca got there, so it's Nazca, Wari, Inca, Spaniards.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And that on the right,
it's a big old storage vessel.
There is nothing of that size that's on display anywhere. I mean, I'm I did a video on this, a full-length video. I'm 5'11", so I know.
Same height as me, actually.
Right on.
There we go.
Good height, solid height.
It's a good height. It's a good height.
So I don't know exactly what that makes my arm span, but that's how wide the thing is. This was one solid piece of ceramic, and nothing of that size has been ever documented in this region. So I've documented where that is. I would love to work with a team to, do some sort of GPR test to see. Look, the Romans had things like this.
Yeah.
And actually right around the same time, ironically. And
interesting. There's a lot going on at that time. It's round about like first couple of centuries AD.
Yeah.
Or CE.
200 BCE to, 400 AD.
Yeah. Yeah. But as you say, same time as the Roman Empire is when the Nazca, it's like kind of, reaching its apogee. It's yeah.
And so that's I don't really know what to make when I bring up the Romans. Like the Romans had these.
It's a mystery. Yeah.
For storing wine and stuff, but they never had just one of them by themselves. So it's very doubtful here that there's one of these by itself. I'm buried under the sand. I'm sure there's more.
Interesting. I'm thinking. I mean, the Romans filled theirs with wine. This filled with chicha.
Could be chicha. It could have had a mummy in it.
Yeah.
There was something comparable found recently in Brazil, in the Amazon. These funerary jars that had human remains, but they were nowhere near this size. And also the Majaro people on the east coast of Brazil, they interred some of their deceased in these vessels, but those vessels were only the largest one is about 4 feet, I think.
Okay. Well, were people smaller?
I don't know.
No, I don't think.
And
interesting.
And I mean, going about things, if I were to do this expedition again, I would have found another way to have measured this thing. But I got a lot of flack for it, understandably so, and for being inside of it. But I will assure that the structural integrity was sound. There's like 1.5 feet of sand in there still. I do.
So you've jumped down onto the sand.
I got into it. Yes.
Yeah, but
And well,
Didn't
so
jump
and,
straight onto the actual structure itself.
exactly, no, and there was about 1.5 feet of sand, so it was like
Yeah.
it was. And you don't see in the video, you don't see the half hour of meticulous study I did, but still, for the sake of perception and things like that, there are other ways to go about it, which I definitely take into consideration. So that's it's an amazing find, though.
It is. And has somebody dug that out before you got there?
Yeah, I guess they broke the top of it.
Okay. So somebody's already taken the top.
Oh yeah, and so and thrown wood in there. The blue post right there is actually from like one of the streets, like one of the highway markers, and so there's just trash in it. And the thing about it, I want to say it was almost 2 inches thick, like thick, the ceramic. So it was a strong piece of fired clay. And I mean, I've never seen anything like it before.
Yeah. So I'm trying to picture the creation of such a thing. Quite a piece of work.
I'm still baffled by it. There's been a few people which is part of really what I love about putting this out there, is that this idea of collaboration, and everybody has their own strong suits and their own arenas in life. And there have been people who have commented on this saying it is possible to make from inside the ground. I don't really understand. They give a description. But that's part of what's really neat about, being in this space also, because I surely don't have all the answers. And when people do chime in,
you do get some really great comments from people who are very knowledgeable about very specific things. And it's always great to receive them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, so you're basically there. You're turning up at a place where looters have been for a while, digging around, and you're seeing what they've left behind.
Exactly, or what the sands have shifted and continued to reveal. There wasn't. I don't think I came across a single site that wasn't looted in some capacity. Now, how recent it was looted is up for debate. I went to some really obscure places, so it could be it was looted in ancient times, for all I know.
Could be, or even 1800s,
or even 1800s. But the majority of the sites, I will say, were towards the end of the 1980s to 2000s. You can tell because of the trash and the not the ancient artifacts, but the artifacts of modern trash. You can see when
Inca Cola bottles and things,
and cigarette boxes, and newspapers with dates on them. So
yeah. And then that becomes archaeology in itself.
Yeah, right. Yep.
Amazing. Yeah, what a place.
Yeah. So I would say that the Nazca region had the majority of the fanciest artifacts, so to speak.
Yeah, and the textiles are absolutely incredible in that region with the Paracas and the Nazca.
And the bottom left is the only textile I came across with pigmentation on it. It might be hard to tell from the picture, but there is black and red designs on that. It's a small piece.
They are you can make those out. Yeah. Amazing.
But yeah, their textiles were amazing. They wrapped their deceased in them. I mean, Julio Teo did an amazing job finding all those pits with all the mummy bundles that were in them.
Yeah, absolutely. I've also made a video on the Paracas and one on the Nazca.
You made a great video.
If anybody wants to watch those ones, there's lots of textiles in them. I got very into the textiles because they're really cool to see. Have I gone backwards here? No. Oh, well, this is absolutely devastating, isn't it?
Yeah. Backwards.
So agriculture, the big blight of this region.
Yeah. So that was you can see these are different valleys where used to be archaeological sites. You could see on Google Earth where they used to be, and in newer satellite imagery, they do not exist anymore.
Wow.
And this is just an example of a couple dozen places I've documented like this.
Yeah, and this is only the last 20 years.
Yeah.
So you got to think what other sites have been destroyed by agriculture over the last 1,000 years or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Oh. This is an example of just one of my adventures, but also like this will give you the full.
That is incredible.
It was not an easy task.
You're quite high. You're in the middle of nowhere there. You're quite high up.
Very true. Yes. This is all, and this here, just further down, is all looting.
There's so much of it.
It's so much. Yeah, it's crazy. And coming up here shortly will be here's a shot of just, like I said, this particular 8 full kilometers. 8 full kilometers. And this is getting a close up of what you see there.
Yeah. The scale of the place in itself is amazing, and then the scale of the looting is even more awful.
Yep.
And most of these things end up in the collections of private buyers and things like this.
Yeah,
sold for a profit.
I would assume so.
Yeah.
I think we're kind of at the end of the PowerPoint here, where it's just examples of some of the more unique locations that I went to.
Shall I go? Oh yeah. So the Casma Valley, that's yet another valley, and the Peru is a desert with loads of rivers going through it, basically, and each one of these rivers is just full of these archaeological sites.
Yep. I mean, that's initially how I started kind of tracing some of the, my initial satellite surveying. I think, what do you need as a civilization to survive? You need fresh water. So
you've got to have the water. Yeah.
And so you're likely going to, construct something along those fresh waterways. And so I started like kind of piecing them all together, and, but the climate in Peru is really unique, and I only recently started to understand it in my adulthood. The reason, because of the Humboldt current and everything like that, like it creates a weird ecosystem along the coast, which is why it can be so dry and so desert, literally up.
But also have life as well, which is the fascinating
through the rivers.
thing.
Yep.
Yeah. People can survive if they use irrigation techniques to get themselves a bit more water, basically. And
Which
and
is
also, sorry, you carry on.
Which is what the Nazca, for example, were famous for. Their irrigation systems. Just incredible.
And their aqueducts, where they would just store as much water as they could, basically.
Yep.
And
brilliant engineering.
It's amazing, absolutely amazing. Yeah, and it is a weird environment. It almost never rains.
Correct. And that's let's see, I might butcher the science behind it, but it's because it's to do with the mountains and the sea, right? It's a particular microclimate is created. Yes. And the condensation doesn't go the condensation doesn't ever go high enough to create rain clouds.
Yeah.
You'll get fog. And if you've been driving along the coast in the morning at some point, sometimes there's fog. You got to stick your head out the car to see the line.
It's dense, dense, so thick, and thick. And that fog itself actually did, and still does, I think, water some of the crops.
It does, of course. Yeah.
So that is some of the water that would be harnessed by these ancient people.
Yeah. It doesn't ever come down like rain. I mean, maybe very, very light. But the condensation kind of gets trapped on that layer. So
It's definitely
very interesting.
it's one of the most unique environments. It's got to be, and it always blows my mind how advanced societies formed there.
Yeah.
And
and
it's
Chi-
just you carry on. Sorry.
the Chimu, their irrigation. I mean, again, we brought up Dr. Barnhart a lot, but it's because I spoke to him about things down in Peru.
I am actually speaking to him.
Are you?
In a month or so? Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Give him
It's
my
gonna be good.
regards, please.
I will do.
I remember in one of his great courses series, he talked about like the Chimu were building an irrigation canal that stretched for, I mean, kilometers upon kilometers upon kilometers, trying to connect these two valleys, but they had to give up because they ran into a fault line. But just like the engineering work that these cultures were undergoing to provide them sustenance is remarkable. These were not primitive civilizations by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of the irrigation canals are still used today.
Yes, very true. Very, very true.
Um,
Along the coast and up in Cusco and Ollantaytambo, and I mean, they're still using them.
Yeah. The Chimu, we haven't mentioned them at all either, because Chan Chan, I think it's the largest city of all, right? In the Americas, is it in the pre-Columbian Americas? It's huge.
It is and I quote it in one of my videos, but I'm forgetting the specs on it. But I forget how many hectares it covers, but it is a massive, massive, impressive site. And the adobe architecture and the carvings. I mean, it is a beautiful, impressive site.
And a lot of it is just kind of made up of almost like a funerary temple for each successive king, right?
So that's the main complex of Chan Chan itself. And so each one had a actually, on not to shamelessly pitch the channel, but Pillars of the Past 101 on YouTube, I was actually granted access to explore one of the there's only one of the temples there's one of these complexes that are currently open to tourists, and I was allowed to explore an adjacent one, which is really neat.
Oh, amazing.
Each of these were for an independent rule, a successive ruler. So once the former one passed away, the next one would build his own that was very similar in size. And the previous one was only inhabited by, I guess, descendants or the immediate entourage of the, predecessing ruler. But in total, there were about 10 of them.
Yeah. And I think we have the names of each of these rulers, right?
We do. I believe we do.
Yeah, which is, I mean, that's quite, because this was a civilization that was almost still going at the contact time. They'd been conquered by the Inca. Only was it a generation before or two generations before?
Yeah, I think a generation before.
So we still have a little bit of the history of this culture, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, but the carvings are exquisite. I mean, it's remarkable, and it's shocking how little touristry it gets for how impressive it is.
So I was lucky enough to visit Chan Chan, and my group, we had the entire place to ourselves.
Yeah. It'll be like that in a lot of the places.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, it was the same at the Moche sites as well. Just us, no one else there.
I love that. I mean, it was.
Oh, it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. But then it's a little bit saddening because Machu Picchu gets all the tourists because it's one of the wonders of the world or whatever. But no one else goes to anywhere else in Peru, which is a shame, I think.
I agree. I mean, like, you don't really see this stuff carved into the stones at Machu Picchu.
No.
For example.
So yeah,
it's exquisite.
It is. This is just one example of the iconography at Chan Chan.
Well, and the legend behind the origin of the Chimu is with the deified figure, almost deified figure, Taikanamu, who they arrived with an entourage on reed boats and, formed the capital city. And so, again, akin to many of the ancient myths, Dr. Barnhart actually suggests that because of the irrigate, so each of those 10 plazas or complexes, there was a section of a reservoir. Each one had a reservoir that tapped into the underground water table. And at the base of them, Dr. Barnhart pointed out, you can see this Nazca era resembling aqueduct system. So his thought process is that they were actually, Taikanamu was actually of Nazca origin. And so they came up when they couldn't live down there, when they were getting conquered by the Wari, for example.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah. So round about 600 AD, something like that sort of time.
Yep.
Amazing. Yeah, I often wonder about what the connections were between these ancient people. Like, surely the Moche and the Nazca were aware of each other.
Well, yeah, yes, to a degree, but
to a degree.
the other from what I've heard, other cultures were very wary about I don't remember exactly where I heard this, but nobody really wanted to go into the Nazca regions. It was so arid. It was so, and so those like the Paracas and the Nazca thrived for a long time without being conquered. Or having these big battles. It wasn't until really the Wari came along.
And they came down from the mountains, right? They came the other way, almost, not from along the coast to the north.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, and then you start to see the Wari influence and the mix of these cultures. They actually see that because at some of these ancient, Nazca sites that became Wari sites, you have the remnants of Yama bones. So these caravans were coming. Yamas are up in the mountains, and so they were bringing these caravans down onto the coast.
In my Midlands, England, we'd call it a llama. Is that?
Yama, the double L's. I mean, you can do llama, but
no, just so we're on the same page. Yeah, because Yama. Yeah.
Same.
Nice.
Same thing, exactly.
Same thing.
and so they were definitely coming down from the highlands.
Wow. Amazing. So things coming in from the sea, things coming down from the mountains, meeting here. One thing I was going to speak about, actually, we touched on it very briefly earlier, was the Amazon connection. Because at the site of Quaylap, for example, up in the it's in the Amazonia region. It's sort of still in the mountains, but it's going down towards the Amazon rainforest, basically. And there's lots of evidence of material goods from the Amazon at this place. And going back to the guy we mentioned briefly earlier, Julio C. Teo, this Peruvian archaeologist, kind of the father of Peruvian archaeology, he posited a connection between the coast and the Amazon, right?
Yes.
And for many years, that was seen as sort of like, no, he can't be right about that. But it seems like he probably was right, particularly now in the last couple of years, as we've seen all these incredible new discoveries in the Amazon of these sort of like urbanized polities existing there at around about the same time.
I mean, absolutely.
It's got to be a connection.
There's a 100% connection. And I mean, one of the easiest and most glaring ones is the evolution of pottery, because we start to see pottery start in the Amazon. And in fact, it's seeming to start, some of the oldest pottery is coming from, I think it's Piedra Pintada in Brazil. There's a lot of petroglyphs there, but actually Anna Roosevelt, the descendant of, Teddy or Franklin Roosevelt, she was an archaeologist on that coast, on the east coast of Brazil, and they're finding pottery there that I think dates back, 6,000 BCE, something like that.
Yeah,
and
it's old.
And it's old. Some of the oldest we found in South America But then there's this evolution that comes through the Amazon up into the Andes, it seems. It goes to Ecuador and then starts coming down along the coast in Peru. And in Peru, it's 1800 BCE when you start to see the ceramics being formed, but much older. And so look, if the pottery's making its way, there's other stuff making its way, religion.
Got to be.
So so to your point, yeah, the connection is 100% there. 100%.
Yeah. This is something that I'm really excited about for the future, because I think there's going to be more and more found in the Amazon, and there's going to be more synthesis of this put together by researchers, and I think we're going to get more of a bigger picture of what was going on there, because it's still quite mysterious, this Amazon. I mean, particularly in the popular consciousness, I think people still see it as like lost cities in the Amazon sort of thing, but they've been found.
A bunch of them have been found, yeah.
Which is the amazing thing.
And what's likely is you're not going to start to see along the Amazon, you're not going to see stone construction, and so what we're finding are these almost like the Native American, mounds and platforms.
It's like the Mississippi mound builders. It's like that kind of thing. Yeah.
As you start going to the Andes, you'll see the stone.
Yeah, I mean, we just use what we have around us, don't we? You're not going to lug stone hundreds of miles if you've got a load of earth that you can just use because it's there.
Yep.
And we make the best of what we have around us.
And you talk about the brilliance of what the people in the Amazon were doing, with the, irrigation canals and the terra preta, black earth that, allowed them to grow things. It's just incredible.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And they were kind of gardening the forest. They were horticulturalists. So they would just have all the food they needed, basically. Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. Have you ever thought of branching out into different countries?
I mean, absolutely. That is definitely something on the horizon that, I am fascinated by. My studying for the decades-long studying that happened in my, teens to now has covered the entire globe. Right now, though, there is so much in Peru that and I like being able to capture some of these sites that, I mean, I'm going to really difficult places.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think there's an incredible value to it, to at least have some sort of catalog of these places, and now with technology and modeling, to be able to create 3D models of these places, just to have a database, because there's connections here that, to make a long story short, the age of exploration is not over. You know what I mean? And so I've got my hands full with Peru, but to answer your question, eventually, yes.
And for everybody watching, we are looking at one of the last great explorers here, because you are doing the exploring, Raoul. It is amazing.
Thank you.
Some of these places are completely insane that you're taking us to.
And
as we've tried to stress all through this stream, it's important work as well, because these sites are all at risk. Yeah. And that takes us nicely to this slide.
Oh, nice. Well timed.
Yeah, there we go.
So I do have a GoFundMe set up. It's linked on all my channels. Just as an example, driving up and down the coast the way I did, I spent over $1,000 just in gas. And this was, my life savings. I believe this mission is important. I believe the work that comes from it is important. But if people are in a position to help, it really does help. So the GoFundMe is there, and eventually I'm working. Go ahead.
No, it's just, unfortunately, I think our little boxes are over the GoFundMe thing. What I'll do is I'll put a link to it down below.
Okay, please do. Yeah, and I'll send you a document with all my links too. It's Pillars of the Past on Instagram and Pillars of the Past 101 on YouTube. Those are the main social media channels.
Yeah.
And then the GoFundMe is linked in all of those.
Yeah. So you mentioned 3D modeling.
Yeah. So if I think I have some models on the next slide, maybe. If you keep going, one more.
Oh, here we are.
So
wow.
and what I love to do is so I'm working on revamping the website to really try to establish a community with all of this, because I have people sending me coordinates all the time, and so two of the most impressive places I went on the last expedition actually came from messages I received with locations, and so I'm aiming to create a portal where people can submit pinpoints. And for example, if you've researched something and say you've been there or have pictures of it, well, you can add your pictures to the pinpoint that, person A created, to create this kind of building community of these archaeological finds.
I love it.
And with the modeling, if people are good with modeling, I don't have the time nor the brain power to explore this, but I know with AI now and people are things like Blender and all these 3D software tools, if you download one of these models and recreate it and, show us all what you think it might have looked like when it was inhabited. I'm more than happy to share that stuff. And that's part of the goal, to create that kind of interconnected community.
Amazing. So these models here, are these created with drones?
Or
LiDAR?
It's photogrammetry. So the software has stitched it all together. Wow. The artifacts, though, were done with the LiDAR on my phone.
Oh, amazing. So you've done these yourself?
Yes.
That's really impressive. Yeah, I'd love to see more of this on the website.
It's coming. It's coming. I actually need to get in touch with my web designer. He's an amazing. Yeah. He actually reached out to me early on during the channel's evolution, and is just passionate about this stuff too, and offered his help. Just amazing. And that's, I've been really humbled by the reception that the channel's grown, in a year.
It's amazing to see. People are really passionate about this stuff and they love it. Just like the same drive that has made us start our channels. People have the same thing. They love it.
Yeah.
Because it's our story, isn't it? It's us. It's just us 2,000 years ago,
There's something that is it's something in the soul,
Yeah, it is
that connection to the past that you're talking about,
Yeah, you can feel it. You can really feel it. Yeah. Well, that's absolutely amazing. Love all this. Did you want me to show any of these things
okay.
as well?
This is what's eventually.
This is your
coming,
website, so yeah, amazing.
So
what a great resource!
Now, it's at a right now. The only thing you'll see on there is you'll see my story, which has some pictures, and you can see some of the 3D models currently. But this is what it's going to look like in eventuality, probably within the next month or two. So there's a wait list to sign up for it, and yeah, all the models will be on there, all the videos. I'm going to start doing tours. That's something I'm going to look into.
Amazing. And I can see Discovery Map. That looks interesting.
And that's where you're going to be able to... Oh, if you actually go back up to the map feature, I think it's like... There you go. We're working on leveraging some AI software to calculate where a site might be in proximity to a water source, for example, or in proximity to an adjacent site, things like that, to kind of create this overarching layer of interconnectedness, to also be able to anticipate where other sites might be based on what we're seeing.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's
I'm
Pillars
impressed,
of the
man.
Past.
I'm really impressed. This is awesome. Yeah, this is really cool.
Thank you.
Well, don't know what else we can say now. We've probably come to the end of our conversation. This has been incredible.
This has been great, Pete.
Thanks for taking me on this journey, both on your channel and in this conversation.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate you inviting me on, and like I said, I've been following your work too, and I'm definitely a fan, and I've learned a lot from the videos you put out there, and so.
Thank you very much.
Keep it up to you too.
It's just great that we can all learn from each other, because I've learned from you too.
Awesome,
man. Well, I will speak to you soon. I'm going to end the